Open your mind.
Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 10th of March, 2019. And as you can probably guess, we are using a different laptop and different software tonight because the problem that we've had...
How will people guess?
Well, by the way the actual jingle finished very quickly.
Oh, yeah, just chops off at the end.
Chops off at the end. You'll have to... It'll all come out in the end Anyway, good evening. Our guest on the show is a chap called Jordan Maxwell. And Jordan has been around for a very long time. And he's been researching the whole cabal, New World Order, deep state for years and years and years. And even though we've been have a radio show for nearly 9 years and known about Jordan, we've never had him on the show. So it's great to have him on tonight and have a talk with him. We'll be bringing Jordan in a few minutes. But as usual, we're going to talk about a few bits and we're going to find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, folks, communication channel.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Okay, the OYM chat room can be found on the website, which is oymradio.com, and you will see the link there for the chat room. If you do have a username and password, you can log straight in and join the festivities over there with a great bunch of people who are there every week. And you'll be in good company. You won't be disappointed. A lot of decent folks on there. We also monitor the chat room on peoplesinternetradio.com as well, and an equally nice bunch of people over there as well. So if you, no matter what chat room you decide to log into, you'll be in good company. Our own chat room, as I said, if you do have a username and password, then you can log straight in. If you don't, you will need to request a username and password at least 24 hours before the beginning of the show will be preferable, because we don't entertain requests just before we go live. It's just too much of a bother. On the website as well, you will see the link for the YouTube channel, for the email, for Skype, for the anti-social media, Facebook, also Twitter and MeWe. And the email address is info@oymradio.com. And we do welcome emails during the week and during the show as well. Just to let us know, what your thoughts are on our guest, if you have any questions, or if you just want to say hi. We do appreciate those emails. The phone number, if you want to ring in, is 046 927 1212, and from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. You will also see on the website there we have a link to Patreon. And a big hi to everyone who is joining us, who has registered for Patreon as well. We're on there. If you fancy joining us, you can log in, follow the link, and hit us up on Patreon. And you will receive a lot of the kind of blogs that we do from time to time. Alan more so than I, but we do have some blogs going up there just to keep people in the loop and what's going on. I think that's it.
Brilliant stuff. Right, you're going to kick us off, Steve?
I am going to kick us off. We have some news in from healthnutnews.com, and it says 126 lots of popular blood pressure medication has been recalled for cancer risk. And it says, if you take blood pressure medication or love someone who does, please pay attention. It was announced by the FDA this week that 3 drug companies recalled 126 lots of the blood pressure drugs losartan and valsartan after it was discovered that they contain trace amounts of probable carcinogens. The drugs are part of a class of drugs called antihogenism 2 receptor blockers, ARBS, and Oro Bindo Pharma recalled 38 lots of Valstran and Valstran combined with almopidine, 40 milligrams, 80 milligrams, 160 milligrams, and 320 milligram tablets that were distributed to pharmacies under the names Aurobindo Pharma USA and Acetris Health LLC. Camber Pharmaceuticals Inc. on Thursday recalled 87 lots of losartan that contain small amounts of ingredients that were distributed nationally to retail and mail order pharmacies, wholesalers and distributors. MacLoads Pharmaceuticals Limited recalled a single lot also on February the 22nd, and the meds are packaged, it says, in 30 count, 90, 500 and 1,000 count bottles. I do apologise for some of the big words that I could not pronounce, but because I'm not a doctor or medically trained, I do stumble with those kind of words.
That's okay. Well, look, the whole idea of that article is just about the cancer risk and certain medications. And more we are coming across issues with the medical profession and the tablets being issued and the side effects of the tablets. So just for your own safety, if you are on medication, regardless of what they are, just ask for the pill, which is the public information leaflet that should come with all tablets to tell you what the side effects are, and then decide for yourself whether you want to take them or not, or get an alternative, or find a natural solution. Because we're hearing more and more really sad stories and bad stories of people with side effects on medication.
Well, I'll just say very quickly, my daughter was at a doctor recently, and she was prescribed some medication. And we actually got the pill. We went through the leaflet, and some of the side effects, you know, it says 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, and it gave all the different side effects. And some of the side effects were worse than the condition that it was actually treating. So we kind of made a family conscious decision that, you know, she wasn't going to. We're going to look at different alternatives. And in relation to the likes of blood pressure lowering medication, there are a lot of alternatives out there. I believe from what we discussed recently, ginger. Ginger is quite good, and there's a lot of other naturals, and a quick visit to any health food shop and you will be bombarded with the amount of information that the people behind the counter there actually know. They're very helpful, and you know, it's definitely worth going in and just asking the question.
Excellent. Right, okay. Now, we did receive a disturbing phone call from Barry Trower during the week. Barry is a highly respected scientist and an expert in microwave radiation, and this is why he rang us. Barry was interviewed on Gemma Authority's show during the week, and Barry wanted to give out the OIM website address, as we have a page for Barry on our website with Barry's documents on it, and he wanted people to be able to access. Now, he gives out this address globally and all, and he says it to us, look, when I go to America or go to Europe or whatever, and I get interviewed, I give out your address and your documents are on it, which is great. Now, apparently, Barry was going to do that, but Gemma stopped Barry from giving out our website address because she didn't know who we were, who OIM were. So it wasn't good enough that Barry knew us. She also had to know us. So basically she was questioning Barry's integrity and stopping him from giving out the address because she didn't know us. And I find that quite insulting for Barry. I really do. Now, it was disrespectful. Everybody knows Barry's been on our show a number of occasions. He's a gentleman and a really nice guy. And, you know, he's an expert in his field. And he's a good friend of OEM's. And Barry doesn't associate with negative people or people that would affect what he's doing. And we have a good friendship with Barry. So, you know, well done, Gemma, for insulting Barry's integrity. It's just not the thing to do. You know, I think in over 9 years, coming up to 9 years of OEM doing interviews with guests, we've never turned around to a guest and said, no, you can't give out a link, because we trust their integrity. We don't question it. And we trust that they know what they're doing. So it's just, you know, I don't know why. Is it because she doesn't know OEM, or is she afraid of that if people hear about OEM, that she's afraid that numbers will be taken off her show for people tuning in to us? I don't know. It's just, I just find that disrespectful. And Barry rang us straight after the show that he did with Gemma and said, I'm sorry lads, but I tried to give out the link, but Gemma wouldn't let me do it. Nice, Gemma. Nice. How's your week?
My week's been fine. I'm quite busy thanks to Brexit, but we're not here to talk about Brexit, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's ruining my life because we're so busy in the warehouse. I didn't mention it last week, so I'm not going to go into it again. Just a couple of things on my little slip of paper that I hold in my hand. Yeah, have you ever seen those ads on TV where it says you should change your mattress every 8 years?
Yeah.
That I used to look at them going, yeah, that's a sales tactic, it's a sales ploy. It's not. It's genuine. It's real. Change your mattress every 8 years, or even sooner if you can, because both my wife and I have been suffering from back pain for quite a long time. You know, when you're getting out of bed in the morning, and it's a struggle to get out of bed. So we kept saying we're going to get a new mattress. We're going to change the mattress. We must change the mattress. Oh, God, someday soon we're going to change the mattress. Well, anyway, she found a link through social media, or anti-social media, as I call it, Facebook, to a guy in Mullingar. And it's worth mentioning because I was floored by this. She rang up the guy, so I got the phone number on Facebook. It was Liam's Furniture, was the name of the business, in Mullingar, County Westmeath. And she just said, you do mattresses? Yes. I'm looking for a double bed mattress, 4'6". He said, yeah, that's no problem. Just let me check that I have one in stock. I'll ring you back. Within 10 minutes, he rang her back, and she says, okay, obviously we need to get it. When can I get that? And he says, it's in the van. It's on the way.
Wow.
Give us your address. And it was cash on delivery.
Fantastic.
And the guy was there from the first phone call to going up and putting the mattress on the bed, 1 hour, 60 minutes. And I just couldn't believe it. And that was on a Saturday.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd give it a mention.
It wasn't Mattress Mick, was it?
It wasn't Mattress Mick, no, it was Liam.
Mattress Liam.
Mattress Liam. Anyway, yeah, something, when I came up this evening, Alan said to me that there was a significant reduction in the amount of chemtrails that he has seen during the week out these parts. I've kind of figured out why, because they were all in Dublin. I've seen loads of them during the week. I didn't see any craft flying behind them, doing anything to what was coming out of the back of the planes. But look, they're still happening, and as we said before, until we can look up and see a nice blue sky without chemtrails, then we maybe if that happens, then we kind of think that maybe we are winning this war. Anyway, this is something else that I noticed during the week, and you know the way we often with different technology, we always talk about technology. I have a small cloud server.
Sorry to hear that.
It's not painful, and there are creams that you can rub in. But you know, on the cloud folder, you know the one I have. There's a folder on it called Public. Right? So the public folder is obviously open to the public, and you cannot delete this public folder. And what concerned me was I was just doing a little bit of housekeeping, bit of tidying up, and I went into this public folder, and there was a folder that I had in there for a chap that I know whose name is Willie. And Willie was sending me pictures. They were of a local event, and then we were going to turn it into a slideshow, and that was fine. So after Willie had finished sending me the pictures, I didn't delete the folder, but I deleted the contents because I no longer required, didn't need them. And doing a bit of housekeeping today, I said, I won't be getting any more pictures. I'll delete the folder. And it said, do you want to delete the picture inside? And I said, there's no pictures inside. So I opened the folder, and I went in, and it just said, Willie, self-image. So I went, okay, I wonder why he's sending me that. But it obviously wasn't him, because it was a public folder, someone else had access to. And it was a picture of a Willie.
Right, okay.
Yeah, someone with their member exposed. And I was quite concerned about that because, like I say, it's a public folder.
Yeah.
And I tried going into the software, there seems to be no way to actually delete that folder.
Yeah, but can you not switch it off from being public?
No.
Make it
nope.
private?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a concern.
That's a bit of a concern.
That is a concern. Anyway.
And of course, should anybody in any way want you to stitch you up or do something,
Yes.
they go, oh, but it's your cloud server, you're in charge of that. And you're thinking, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Western Digital, if you're listening, we've got a problem. Anyway, also noticed during the week that I don't know if it's maybe a change in whatever's going on. I know we talk about downloads and all this sort of stuff. I've had some ringing in the ear 3 or 4 times during the week, but I've also noticed my mood. I haven't been kind of in a happy mood, or I haven't been in a sad mood. I've just been kind of like on an even keel during the week. Kind of this similar kind of way as if you were on, say, antidepressants, where there's no highs and there's no lows. And
45, 55?
Yeah. So
Okay.
not kind of sure if it's just me feeling that or if anyone else. But the fact that I had some download or ringing in the ears, and we kind of suspect that maybe I am getting the download. Maybe it's all about the change. I don't know. And I just want to give a shout out as well to Net1. you were praising that one a couple of weeks back because you were very helpful in the city when that's our broadband provider, and they helped me out immensely during the week as well. I had a couple of issues, and the lads over there, absolutely no questions. No matter what time I got onto them, they sorted out the problems and are only too happy to help. So a big shout out to them. So if you're looking for a broadband provider, do check out Net1. And the last thing on the list, Permanent TSB, were on to me during the week. They sent in a letter. They're changing all the details to accounts and whatnot. And there is an €18 quarterly fee that is obviously taken out of your account, and you agree to pay it, and there's nothing you can do. But they sent me out a letter to say, if I can keep a minimum of $2,500 in my account, then they'll waive that quarterly fee. So after I finished laughing, that was it. You know, I mean, $2,500.
Yeah,
Who has $2,500?
Bank of Ireland did the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. That's my week in a nutshell. How was your week?
Brilliant. Okay, well, before we bring Jordan in, just a few minutes on my week. Just an announcement. You know, we talked about, and we made the announcement last week about the sabbatical that we're going to be taking at the end of March. We've both been feeling the low energies, and maybe just time for a break and a bit of a change, because we've been doing OIM for nearly 9 years. So it's like, as I say, bands taking time off and doing their own solo projects, just to do something different. Now, in the past, when we have said this, something happens and we get a boost and we're off again for another period of time. If the energy stays the same, it just might be the universe agreeing that we need to take a break. But we'll see what happens with the energy anyway. Steve is currently doing his own radio show with his wife on Thursday night. PIR called To His Company. It will be, I'll be doing my own radio project, and also OIM will not be broadcasting. The time slot will be available from 7 to 9 GMT. So I'll be doing my new radio show project at the same time on OIM on Sunday night. Now, I'm still sorting out the details, but it'll be based on solutions and a different way of thinking. I'll be aiming to move from the 3D to the 5D if that's possible. And I should have more information on the project next Sunday, because it's all kind of thinking about it and working on it and changing and chopping and all that kind of stuff. But Steve's up and running with his show. Steve's been running his show now for the last few weeks. Do you want to give out the web address there, Steve?
Yeah, if anyone's interested, the web address for what I'm doing on a Thursday with my wife, my beloved, is Two's Company, TWOS, twoscompany.eu. That will bring you to a small, very small website. What we're just kind of sitting down and having a chat. It's just kind of talking about what's in the news, and it's very kind of laid back and very informal. It's not kind of hard hitting journalism or anything like it. So we're going to be doing that. Yeah. Well, we're already doing it on Thursdays. So yeah, if anyone wants to join us, we will be there, and we do monitor the chat room as we do on OAM, and we answer questions and all that sort of stuff. And anyone is kind of welcome to pop along. And Alan was just saying to me during the week that we are kind of broadcasting on PIR, but Alan was saying during the week that maybe we could simulcast on OAM as well. So kind of more bases covered there. So again, that's going to be Thursday from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. GMT.
Brilliant stuff. Right, okay, let's bring our guest in, Jordan Maxwell. Steve has his bio, so Steve, take it away.
Yeah, Jordan continues as a preeminent researcher, an independent scholar in the field of occult religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as a religion editor of Truth Seeker magazine. That's America's oldest free thought journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religion and secret societies creates enthusiastic response from audiences around the world. He has conducted dozens of intense seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 two-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religious and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. His work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, and their symbols has fascinated audiences around the world for decades. Considering the rapidly moving events of today and the very real part hidden religious agendas play in our modern war-torn world, he feels these controversial subjects are not only interesting to explore but too important to ignore. His extraordinary presentations include documents and photographs seldom seen elsewhere. Jordan's areas of interest include astrotheology, sexual symbolism in world religions, foundations of modern-day religion, secret societies and toxic religion, world mysteries, ancient and modern, ancient symbols and occult emblems, ancient sciences and technology, hidden Bible teachings and mysteries, the sun in the history of politics and religion, the story your church doesn't want you to know, and secret societies and their influence on world events.
Fantastic. Loads to talk about. Good evening, Jordan. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening.
Or good morning, depending on where you are.
Exactly. Good morning in your time zone. Good evening in our time zone. Jordan, before we get into any subject matter, we always ask our guests who come on to tell us about their awakening. Now, we know that you've been doing this for a very long time and you're highly respected in the alt media. But tell us when you woke up. When did you realise something was going on? How long ago was that? And what was the trigger?
Well, I think I would go back to 1959 when I first became aware of the dark side of the world. I came to California. Originally, I was from Florida. And at 19 years old, I left home and ended up in Los Angeles on the other side of the country at 19 years old. And I happened by chance to meet a young lady, and I was 19, she was about 17. And I met her in a restaurant. I was sitting next to her at the counter, and we began talking, and I liked her, she liked me, so we got together and we started meeting each other. We would meet on Saturdays at the restaurant because I only lived about 2 blocks from the downtown street, and she only lived about 3 blocks, and she lived on the same street I did. And so it just worked out that every Saturday I would see her at the restaurant, and we'd spend some time walking around the streets, going to movies or whatever. And so we became very close friends. And one evening, it was on a Friday night, she came to my place. I didn't know where she lived. She knew where I lived because I was the closest. I only lived 2 blocks from town, and she lived 3. And so I never went home. I never went to her house, but she knew where I was. And so one night she came to my place, and she said, "My dad wants to talk to you." And I, of course, said, "I'm not interested to talk to your dad. I got nothing to say to him." And she said, "No, my father is very impressive. He's very important, and he wants to talk to you. He's got something to tell you." I thought that was interesting because I don't know who he is. Why would he want to talk to me? So I went with her. And when I met him, I knew instinctively that there was something different about this man I had never seen before. I knew there was something about him that just didn't set well with me. I could feel it. I could just feel something when I met him. But I didn't say anything. And so we went in the house, and my girlfriend and her sister was about 10 years old. They sat on the floor, and the father and I sat on the sofa. He sat on one end, I sat on the other. And he was just talking. We were just making discussion about what am I doing and how am I liking Los Angeles and how long have I been here, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're just talking, and I was feeling a little bit better about him, but I still felt there was something strange about this man. But since we were talking about normal things, I felt a little better about him. And then he said to me, he said, remember when you were back in Florida and your dad built a new back porch? Remember when your dad built that new back porch? And that scared me because I didn't want to show tears in front of my girlfriend, but it really frightened me. I don't know how he knew that. How did he know I was from Florida and what my dad did? And he said, well, did he do that or didn't he? I said, yes, he did. And he said, well, remember he built the back porch with green lumber and it smelled funny? And I thought, yes, I remember that. And then he told me, he said to me, and one night you were supposed to be in bed. You were about 8 years old and you were supposed to be in bed, but you got out of bed and you went out on the back porch. You remember that? And I did remember it, and I didn't say anything. And he said, and the full moon was out, and you were sitting on the back porch and you were looking at the full moon. Do you remember that? And I said, yes. And he said, and what did you do? What did you do? And I didn't say anything. He said, I'll tell you what you did. You talked to God, didn't you? And I motioned my head, yes, I did. And he said, what did you say to God? You were only 8 years old, sitting on the porch by yourself at night. What did you say to God? And I didn't say anything. He said, well, I'll tell you what you said. You asked God to allow you to do something important with your life. You didn't want to be here just because you were born. You wanted to do something important with your life. Is that what you asked God? Is that what you said? And I said, yes, that's what I said. And he said, well, how would I know all of that? How do I know that? And I said, I don't know how you know. He said, well, I know because we were there. We were right there listening to you. And I said, I didn't see anybody. He said, of course you didn't see us. We don't want you to see us. But we were there because how do I know all these things if I wasn't there? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, we were there. We heard you. And he said, you have always been interested, as long as we can remember, you have always been interested in UFOs and aliens and other world experiences and strange things, haven't you? And I said, yes, I have. And he said, well, would you like to see some UFOs up close tonight? And I said, yes, I would. He said, well, I can do that for you. That much I can do. So come with me now. And I got up with him. And we went outside. The two girls got up and they followed us. The four of us were out in his front yard back in 1959, which is exactly 59 years ago. And we stood out in the front yard, and it's about 11 o'clock at night, and he looks up into the sky, and he starts talking inaudibly. You can't hear him, but he's obviously talking to someone. And his mouth is moving, so we know he's talking to somebody. And he said, they said they'll be here in about 2 minutes. And I said, who? And he said, you said you wanted to see UFOs up close. Yes? Well, then give them about 2 minutes and they'll be here. And I thought to myself, how do you know that? And he said, just wait, you'll see. And sure enough, about 2 minutes later, 3 glowing discs showed up. We saw them coming over the mountains, coming into the valley where I lived. Excuse me. And 3 discs showed up. They were flying in a triangle formation, and they were glowing different colors. It was an extraordinary experience. And they flew over us. They came very slowly. And they come over the top of us, and they stopped. And they sat there, and they were about the size of a full moon. Each one of them was a full moon size. Not a little light in the sky, but full moon size. And they were beautiful. They were glowing different colors, making no sound whatsoever. And I was staring at them, and we were all staring at them. And I looked at him, the father, and he said, "They're beautiful, aren't they?" And I said, "They're gorgeous." "Who are they?" And he said, "That's us." And I said, "Who is us? Who are you talking about?" He said, "We've been watching you for a long time. We brought you," and he asked me, he said, "Why did you come to California?" And I said, "I don't know. I just had to." He said, "That's right. I brought you here. You said you wanted to do something for God, so we're going to let you do something for God. You said you wanted to do something important. We're going to give you something important to do. But you have to come here to be trained. So we are going to start you on your journey tonight. I'm going to start you on where you're going to go and what you're going to do." And I had no idea in the world what he was talking about, but he did speak to the sky, and the UFOs showed up. So that was impressive to me, enough to listen to him. And so he gave me a book, and he said, "I want you to read this book, and it will start you on your journey." And then he looked up in the sky and started talking to those vehicles and started talking to them, the craft again. And he said, "They said they're going to go now. They will see you later, but they're leaving now." And they did. And they began to slowly move northward until they were finally out of sight. And I was amazed about just talking to the sky, and these UFOs show up. And he knew all about my family. He knew all about me and what I had done. And so he said, "So we have something for you to do. You did ask God to let you do something, so we're going to let you do something." And he said, "But what you're going to do for us, you're not going to do to the very last part of your life. So don't worry about it. Just know that we'll be there to guide you, and we will decide who you will meet and what you will find out, what you will learn, and we will make sure that you know what you're supposed to know by the time we have for you to do what we have for you to do." And he said, so I asked him, "Well, what is it I'm supposed to do?" He said, "Don't worry about that. It's not important right now. It's going to be at the very last part of your life. You'll be very old. It'll be the last part of your life. We have something for you to do. And when that time comes, you will know what it is that we want you to do." So, as it turns out, I left. I took the book with me. The book was called The Complete Works of Charles Fort, F-O-R-T. Charles Fort. The Complete Works of Charles Fort is an extraordinary book. You really need to find it. You really need to get it. It's still available today, and I think it may be available on the web for a free download. But nonetheless, get the book. It's a fascinating book about strange things which have happened on the earth that no one has ever figured out why. And that's the strange things. That's the strangest thing you will find are all the interesting things which have happened in the world that nobody knows why. And so that started me on my journey, reading about strange events which have happened in the world and which nobody knows why, and nobody has ever offered an explanation for.
Okay, that's interesting. Who was the person? Who was that man? I've given his name out before, but I don't think I want to give his name out any longer. I've done it on other radio shows. I've given his name. But then one day I used to go over to their house on weekends. It was only a block away. And I used to go to his house on weekends to go and hang out with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend and I would go with him and the wife. And we'd go, as a family, we'd take off and go somewhere, and he would tell me all about the extraterrestrial people who are on this earth and where they've come from. And we'd go out to the desert, and he would tell me all about the ancient and prehistoric history of the world, who these extraterrestrials were,
and where they've come from. And he never said he was one, but I knew there was something about him. I didn't knew it from the moment I met him. And so I totally believe he was not from this world. And so one morning I went over to the house on the weekend to see them, and they were gone, totally gone. They had moved. And the house was wide open. The doors and windows were wide open. There was nothing in the house. They were gone. And I was very, very disappointed because even my girlfriend didn't tell me she was leaving. They just left, and that was it. They were gone. And I've never seen them ever. I never saw them ever again. And so I am sure that what happened was that he was supposed to, and I was supposed to meet him. And he was supposed to get me started, which he did. He really did get my attention. And he was supposed to get me started, and then he moves on. That was what he was here for, just to see me. And then he moved on after he's met me. And so I just understand that that's probably what happened, is he was supposed to meet me and get me started, and then he moved on and go somewhere else. And so that's what happened. That got me started wondering about all the strangest things which have happened in the world that nobody has any explanation for. No one knows why. Nobody knows how. It just happened.
Okay.
But that started me on my journey, and I've been running ever since.
Well, that's a very, very interesting experience. I know we could go through the history of what happened, but that would take a show probably 4 or 5 hours. What I'd like to do is get your thoughts on what's happening today with everything that's going on in the world, with the cabal, with the deep state, and what's been happening over the last, the big catalyst for an awful lot of people was 9/11. That woke a lot of people up, and at the moment, there are a lot of people waking up. As we said just before we went live, that even in the 9 years we've been running the radio show, a lot of people have woken up in that time, or at least are beginning to ask questions. There are still people who aren't woken up, and maybe it's not their time. But what's your take on what's happening now, especially you're living in America, with Trump, Hillary, the deep state, the Dems, the Republicans, and global issues that are going on? What do you think? And maybe we'll talk about disclosure, or what's believed. People are waiting on disclosure. We think that it's already happened. Just because Trump or Putin hasn't come out on TV and said it doesn't mean it hasn't been disclosed. The information has been disclosed. I know the BBC mentioned that. I think the FBI, the CIA have released a plethora of information regarding UFO sightings and everything else. But what's your take on what's happening today?
I am sure that this government is highly connected to the extraterrestrial presence. There is no doubt in my mind that there is an extraterrestrial presence, something, a life form that we do not understand and do not know anything about, we the people. But there are government agencies who have been looking into this subject for many, many years, and I'm sure that they have made contact with us, and we have been contacting them and talking with them. There's no doubt in my mind about it, because I've seen too much and I've heard too much, and I've had my own personal experiences. And so I think that a lot of our really high technology was given to us by these extraterrestrial. That's what it seems to be happening. And I read so many books and heard so many different stories from astronauts, military people, very important industrialists, people I know, and they have told me that they're getting their information from the extraterrestrials, fiber optics, lasers, all kinds of high technology. So I know that we humans are being led in our destiny. We're being led to something. And I know because I've been led. And I don't have any problem with the idea of meeting extraterrestrials and and being led through life by them. I don't have any problem with that. And the reason why is I don't question it, because in my spirit, I feel very good about what I do. I don't feel there's any evil influence on me. It's not the devil, like so many Christians would say. Excuse me. Christians will tell me it's all the devil. The demons are connecting themselves to you. I don't feel that, because I am doing what I do because I want to help educate my fellow man, and I want to help people. I don't think the demons would do anything for me to help my fellow man. So I feel very good about what I do, and I don't have any problem with following my spirit and doing what I do. So that's why I don't question it.
Okay, and obviously you're not ready to. You said that this man that you met has something. He said, as you get older, something's going to happen. So obviously, that's something to. I'd like to think that's maybe something to look forward to, by the sound of it.
Well, 80 years old is where I am now, and I'm very close to 80 very soon. And so at 80 years old, I assume that's when he meant by the very last part of your life. And I don't have any problem with my mortality. I don't care. I don't have any problem with leaving this world, because it's part of who I am, it's part of life. But I do feel very strongly that there's so much that I have learned, like he told me. My girlfriend's father told me, we will see to it that you meet who you're supposed to and learn what you're supposed to learn, so that you can be of value to us in the last part of your life. Well, that's what's happened to me. I have somehow or another, I always try and say on all radio shows, I always say, I am not the world's foremost authority on anything. Why? Because I have learned how much I don't know. So I don't consider myself to be a world-class authority, but I do consider that the one thing I do consider is important about what I do are the people that I have met in my life. I have met so many interesting and important people. Somehow or another, I meet them. I don't know how, but I end up in the company of extraordinarily powerful people over the years, and they have told me things in private. And so after a while, I've come to the point where I know that I'm meeting people for a reason, and I'm collecting information for a reason, and I know what the reason is. I have to tell people what's going on. I have to try and help those people who want to know what's going on. I have to try and help them to hear and understand the things I've been given, because I've been in the company of some very important people in this world that I'm not the expert, but I know who the experts are, and I've been in their company. I've listened to them, and I've learned from them, and that's what I try and do now, is I try and give to people the information I've been given, and do it in such a way as I don't get myself in trouble or anybody else.
Okay,
because you can get in trouble if you know too much.
Okay, so is there any information that you have that you could tell us that's of importance, maybe something that's happening now or coming down the line that we need to know about?
I think probably the most important thing is the religions that we believe in. I think that's where the real answer is, because we as humans are hardwired, so to speak, about religion. So many people believe in things that they don't understand, they have no background to understand, and so they are misled into believing things which aren't true or which they're not interpreting correctly. The words and the terms and the ideas that we use, we don't understand. In government, in religion, in our institutions, our education, our military, We humans use words that we don't understand. And I think that's the most important thing, is to find out where your ideas have come from. I like the idea of your show being called Open Your Mind, because your mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. And so I like the idea of helping people to wake up to what words mean, what the ideas mean, and where they came from, and how did we get to be who we are today, and where are we going, where all you have to do is understand where you've come from, where you are now, and draw a straight line out, and now you know where you're going. But most people don't know where they've come from. They don't understand the history of the world. And so they don't know where they've come from. They don't know what they're doing now. So how would they know where they're going? They don't. They just live each day, never realizing that you are on a ride to somewhere. You're going somewhere as a human being. You are evolving into something every day. You're moving towards something. But most people have no idea where they're going or what they're doing or where they've been. And so that's what I try and do, is explain to the people of this world, nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. There's a bigger world, and it's far, far deeper and far, far darker than you know.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely vouch for that. You know, with the years that you've been involved in this subject matter, I'm sure you've come across the naysayers and the people who would call you a conspiracy theorist and everything. After years of doing this, what's your approach to them? What way do you tackle them?
I have come to the conclusion of, I've been doing what I do, talking to people as far back as 1959, which is exactly 59 years ago. Almost 60 years ago, I started talking. As a 19-year-old boy, I started talking and giving lectures at little small groups, like in a library. I would rent a library room for the day, and I would talk about the fact that I'm going to be speaking on a particular subject. And so I've been talking to audiences for almost 60 years. But I have had so many people that don't want to hear what I'm talking about. So many people do not want. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a secret about people that I have learned. It's a very deep secret. Most people will not understand. But I have discovered that people will always support financially and every other way. They will support what they want. They will not support what they don't want. If you're going to buy clothes, people will buy the clothes that they want to buy. They will not buy clothes that they don't like. People, if they're going to go out to eat, they will go to where they want to eat, not go where they don't want to eat. And they will pay and support businesses that they like. They will not go to movies that they don't like. So therefore, the bottom line is people will always support what they want. They will not pay for and support what they don't want. And if history has taught us anything, it has taught us over thousands of years, most people don't want to hear the truth. It's like the movie where the young attorney asked the guy on the stand, I want the truth. And he said, you can't handle the truth. That's what I have found. Most people don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe what they want to believe, and they will pay for it. They will financially support what they want. They will not financially support what they don't want to hear. And most people don't want to hear the truth. And so I understand that, but I feel that I am not supposed to decide anything. I just do what I do, and whoever hears me, they're supposed to hear me. And if they don't hear me, they're not supposed to hear me. And so I don't care. I just do what I do, and if it's supposed to be heard, it will be. And if I'm not supposed to be heard, it won't. I don't care. I just do what I do and see where it goes, because it's not really my work. I feel there's a spiritual presence in my work. Whatever I'm doing is to wake people up. And, of course, as you said, I have been successful in being able to be heard, and I've been very successful in meeting important people. I've sat in the company of astronauts, military people, mafiosis, gangsters, politicians, teachers, authors, lecturers, writers. In Hollywood, I've sat with some of the most important people in Hollywood and hear what they're doing and see what the studios are doing. So I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of very important people and hear a lot of stories. And some of them were very scary, very frightening, and some of them were very incredibly interesting. So that's what I do. That's why I feel the importance of what I do, is I just try to tell the people and share with the world the things which I have learned. I'm not an expert on anything, but I have had some very extremely important experiences. And the one subject which I have always loved, even before I started speaking publicly about it, it was theology and religion. I've always been interested in about the story of God and who is God, where is God, what are you talking about? When you talk about God, I learned a long time ago you need to explain your ideas. You need to clarify your ideas. When you use a word, maybe other people understand that word, but they understand it a different way. So you need to define your terms. So when I use a term, I usually try and explain what I'm talking about, because I know other people may be thinking something different. And so I have learned that most people will not support you when you're telling them the truth. That's why in the Bible, in the story of Jesus in the Bible, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Am I to become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" There's always been a problem in theology and religion. If you know something you're not supposed to know, people don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to face the truth. And so that's what I try and do, is just help people to wake up and learn how much they don't know, because I want to give back to the human family what I've been given.
Yeah, and of course, what we said before the show, we would also call a cognitive dissonance, that you just don't want the truth. Right, Jordan, we have loads of questions that has come in. Obviously, we knew this would happen, so we're going to go over to the questions just a little bit earlier than normal, just to throw over the questions to you so we can get as many questions in the time that we have. So, Steve, do you want to take the two here that's on this first?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we've had two questions that emailed into us before the show during the week. So we're going to start off with them two, and then we'll crack on with the questions in the chat room. Steve.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, Jordan, here we go. First question. Could you please ask Jordan what the one symbol is that is used worldwide?
Yeah, the most incredibly important symbol that has ever been developed in the human mind, that has been around since mankind has been on the earth. It's an extremely, extremely important symbol, and that is something you see every day, everywhere, and you never thought about it. It's the sun. The sun has been used in every facet of human life. The military uses it on their badges. The police department uses it. The educational institutions, colleges, university, government buildings, all kinds of businesses and institutions around the world in every country uses the sun as a symbol. And there are a lot of companies that go with the name sun. And so I think that's the most important symbol ever developed, was the sun. And then, of course, we know that there's another symbol that's been used for thousands of years. many thousands of years. There's a cross. The cross of Christianity has been used many thousands of years before Christianity. The cross has been used by many, many ancient cultures of the world. So the sun and the cross are two very important symbols that have been used for countless thousands of years. And today the sun symbol is so important to the human race because most people don't know why. It's everywhere, but why? And what is the implication of using the sun? So we can talk about that later if you wish to also. But I would say the sun and the cross are two important symbols.
Okay, we'll see if we can get back to that. We just have to, we try and get through the questions first. Steve, next one.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting in relation to the sun. That's why we do our show on Sunday.
Sunday.
Or Horus, I think, is also what the sun is known as. Anyway, question 2, Jordan. How do we change things? What do we have to do to make this world a better place?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of how we humans can change things. I don't think we can. I don't think we are able to change anything. We don't have the power to do that. We as humans don't have the power to change anything. And the reason why is because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Once you have knowledge, now you can do things. Now you can change. But if you don't know what's going on, you haven't got the faintest idea because you've never learned how things work, then you really can't change anything. I mean, you can own a Rolls Royce and be on a major highway. But if it breaks down, you don't know how to fix it, so you're just going to sit there because you don't know how to fix anything. It's knowledge that gives you power. And that's why I want to continue to promote the idea of getting knowledge about how your world works. So if you're ever suspecting that you could probably do something to help the world, you're not going to do it unless you are highly educated. You need to realize and understand how the world really works and what you need to do about it. So I believe people are waking up around the world realizing that there's something wrong on the earth, and it very well might be something very scary and very frightening to people. But you better wake up and understand you are not in charge of anything. The world is a very big and powerful place that we live in. And there are other people who are far, far wiser than we are, who run our governments, who run the banks, who run business, and the whole world is lying in the power of the dark principles of. The whole world is lying in the power of the devil. That's what the Bible says.
Okay, Jordan, what percentage of the population of the world would need to be awake to a certain level for us to affect change? And what percentage do you reckon are currently awake?
I think 2 to 3% of the world were to wake up. It would change the whole entire humanity, because in the beginning of what I call the American Revolution, there was only about 2% of the male population that were here in North America that rose up and took up arms against the tyranny of the European monarchies and founded the United States of America. Only 2%, 98%, it was estimated, 98% of the male population in this country and in the States only took up arms, so that they were 98% didn't do anything. Albert Einstein said that the world is a very dangerous place, not because bad people do bad things, but because good people do nothing. And so that's what I believe, is only about 2% were to wake up. The rest of the world would hear it and learn and do something about it. But we only have a small, tiny percent of people who really care and who really want to know. And then you've got 7 billion people on the earth who don't know they're even alive. They don't care. They don't understand. They don't know. As long as they got food in their belly and they got cold beer and the television and entertainment, the ball games, they don't care about the future. They don't even know there is a future. They don't know where they've come from. They have no idea where they are now, and they couldn't care less. So until you wake up and start educating yourself to the world you live in, I don't think we humans can change anything.
I'm very sad to hear that, because it kind of sounds to me like it's good night, Irene, for a lot of people. I would have thought, in my ignorance, that there would have been a larger percentage of people awake. If someone had said to me, "What do you think?" I would have probably said maybe 10, 15% at a guess. Now, obviously, I have no way of knowing, but I mean, if you reckon it's 2% could affect change, but we're obviously nowhere near 2%. So, I mean, I know people like your good self and other people who are kind of on the scene who have been trying to affect change and wake people up to educate people so that collectively we can make a change. And I know people have been doing it for quite a long time. And what do you see for the future? Do you think we will see change in your lifetime, in our lifetime, or is it just wishful thinking?
Well, we're seeing change all the time. I think the key to the understanding has to be that you, for the first time, you as the public around the world need to wake up to the overwhelmingly obvious fact that the people who are in power are there because they love political power. They want to be special. They want to have control over you. They want to have control over situations. They love the power. Most people, good people, who are not criminally minded, they are only interested in themselves and their families. They just want to live their life and raise their children and love and have friends and just live their life. They're not interested in having political power over other people, to force other people to do what they want them to do. But there are a lot of people in the world who are power hungry. They want to control other people. And they are psychotic, mentally deranged. And this is what we find in government today around the world. The people who rise to the top in this world in politics, religion, government, and in positions of authority are usually psychotic criminals. They want the power. They will do anything to get into position to be able to do what they want to do and force you to do what they want you to do. And so you just have to understand that's the way the world is. The people in power are usually ignorant, ill-informed, dim-witted, and stupid, a bunch of alcoholics, and they're on drugs, but they want the power. Most good people are not interested in ruling their fellow man. They just want to be left alone to live their lives. And so that's the problem. We have to realize that the people who are in power are not who you think they are. They're not the wonderful, fine people who are leading you and leading your government. No, they're a bunch of criminals, period. The end of the sentence is they are criminal and they're faking. They don't care about you. They've never cared about you. They care about themselves and their own power and their money and their way of living. And they want to force that on you. And so I see and I understand that the United States is a very powerful country. Not because the people are wonderful. It's because the government is a very extremely violent, powerful government. And they will do things around the world to force people to do what they want them to do. And America today, as it was founded, America was founded to be the Roman Empire, the new empire of Rome, America is the Roman Empire. It was founded that way, to be the new Roman Empire. And we are today, if you go back in history and read the way Rome ruled the world, that's the way we do it in America, the same way they did it in Rome. And if you go back and look at the history of the European people, Europe has been around for thousands of years, and they have been controlling the world from Europe. All the different European countries have dominated the planet. And there has been one power that has dominated Europe, and that is Rome. Rome dominated Europe, and Europe dominates the world. And so, therefore, we say all roads lead to Rome. And that's exactly what's happening. All roads lead to Rome. The road of illicit narcotics, buying and selling of drugs, that's Roman. That goes back to the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, out of Italy. The Roman Senate, in America we have a Senate, like Rome had a Senate. And the history book said that we are like the Roman Empire because Caesar, the reference works say that Caesar, every morning in Rome, he would go up on the hill because the government of the Roman Empire was up on a hill. It was called Capitol Hill. Well, we have a Capitol Hill today, too. In America, we have a Capitol Hill. And Caesar is God. He presents himself as God, which is not including. I'm not including President Trump. Trump is kind of a different kind of person, but all the others have been presenting themselves as gods, like all these incredibly criminal, violent, dirty people. Who, like Obama, who considered himself to be the absolute incarnation of the Most High God on the earth. And everybody crawled on their knees to worship Obama because he was God incarnate. Well, then we find out he wasn't God incarnate. No, he was just a communist, Marxist, Leninist communist trying to overthrow the American system. So I think it's important for people to realize that their national leaders and their educational and religious leaders are all lying criminals.
Exactly, and that's what we say here in Ireland. What's going on over here? It's a cesspit of corruption at the moment. Yeah. It's worldwide, and Ireland's no different. We have the same thing over here, and it's just criminal what's going on and what's happening to the people. But, hopefully with the, people waking up and the changes taking place globally, that will be sorted in the near future. We have more questions for you there, Jordan. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, I know you say it's criminal what's happening, what the government's doing. It's criminal that the people are letting it happen as well, because there are some people, the I'm all right jacks, not in my backyard, and if it doesn't affect them, then they're not quite interested in. And that's something that you touched on there just moments ago, Jordan. You were kind of saying there are people who, they're good people, they just want to kind of get through this life and do what needs to be done and look after their children and live in love, and they don't really bother with too much. And it's those people, if those people, if we can't wake them up because they don't want to be woken up, they just want to get to the end of this journey that they're on in love, but without kind of rocking the boat, as I say, does that make them bad people?
No, but there will not. But when the end comes, there will be no innocent bystanders. I do not believe in the idea of innocent bystanders because you are guilty of going along to get along. You have accepted the governmental systems. You've accepted the religious beliefs. You've accepted the way operation on the earth happens. You have accepted it. You go along with it. And so don't say that you were innocent. You were mistrusted. You were misled. You were not innocent. because you've got a mind of your own if you just use it instead of drinking your beer and watching ball games. If you just think for a moment and educate yourself and go to a library. Today you have the web. You can go on the web and read and study and go to YouTube and listen to lectures. You can listen to important people. You can learn how the world works. But most people don't take advantage of that. They're not interested. They only want to hear about the football game or the basketball game or the latest movie to entertain them. They're not interested to hear how the world really works. Well, then if it takes advantage of you and you end up in court and you have to go to jail, or you get ripped off and stolen and people rip you off and leave you for dead, well, you should wake up and learn how the world works. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm telling you, there's a whole entire world of knowledge that people are not aware of. They've never been told. I've known about it for many years, and you would be shocked to know how much incredible criminality is going on the earth today that people do not see at all. They don't hear it, they don't see it, they don't know anything about it. But it's incredibly bad in front of you, right in your face, and you don't see it. And my particular take on it is that I think religion is the problem. One of the biggest problems we face in the world today is the ignorance of theology and religion. I believe that the religion should be a science. But in point of fact, what we have is science is a religion. Is supposed to be the other way.
Yeah.
I would think religion should be a science. Mm-hmm. But science is a religion. Today they have their holy books, they have their holy saints, and they will pontificate. The scientists will tell you things that this is the way it is, and this is how science has found out that this is this and that, and they will tell you all about what they know. And then 10 years from today, you will find out that they didn't know anything. It's all different. Every 10 years, everything is all different than what we thought before. Why? Because we're learning more. We now know how much we don't know. And so I think the worst part is that as religion and the people's knowledge of how the world works in power, how power works, it's filled with lies and deception.
I think with the help of the internet, Jordan, it's made a big advance in educating people because we could share information and we didn't have to rely on the mainstream media with all their fake news and propaganda. And the internet was a catalyst that helped so many people. I know they did want to use it as a propaganda mechanism to again fool people into their plans and their ideas. And again, take away the people's freedoms. But the internet was used to educate people, and that's kind of really backfired on them in a big way. But we have more questions for you there, Steve.
Yes, we do. So many questions. People are already looking for a part 2, 3, and a part 4 because there's so much information, so much to get through. But Jordan, Shane is wondering, can you ask Jordan what the name of the church in Rome? What's the name of the church in Rome where the crosses are upside down and only the Pope can say Mass there? He says he thinks it's something like a black church or something. I've never heard of that. Is that something you can talk about?
I don't know the name of the church. I know what they're talking about. I don't recall the name of that church, no. But I do think that one of the most important churches in all of Italy is the Church of Gesù. G as in God. G-E-S-U. The Church of Gesù. The Church of Gesù is in Rome. It is the home office of the Jesuits. The Jesuits have their own church. It's called the Church of Gesù. And it is very, very interesting, the stuff that's going on in that church, which is the home church for the Jesuit order. The Jesuits, I believe, are at the bottom of all of the stuff going on in the world today. That's what I believe. I am totally convinced in my mind that the Jesuits are behind the wars, the violence, the revolutions, the drug running, pornography, drugs, alcoholism. They are promoting all of the darkest stuff in the history of the world. And they're doing it for a reason. And it makes sense once you see who they are and what they're doing and how they're connected themselves to the Catholic Church and who the Jesuits are. And, of course, today the Pope himself is a Jesuit. So you really need to understand who the Jesuits are and how they control your country and all the dark stuff that's going on in your world, how they are the people behind it. There's a reason why they operate the way they do and operate in total secret so that you will not know anything. And they will control you by their drug running, by the wars, by the violence, the businesses, the military-industrial complex. Jesuits are operating all over the world in a way that you have no idea in the world. And now they finally have a Jesuit to be Pope.
They don't sound like a nice bunch of people, to be totally honest. Are they human?
Say that again?
I said, I'm just saying that the Jesuits, they don't sound like a very nice bunch of people. I'm just wondering, are they actually human?
That I don't know. That's a very good question because I'm not really sure. If they are human, they are the brainworks behind. They are the people who set the stage for the mafia. When you think of the underworld organizations of organized crime in Italy, the mob, the mafia, you watch the movies about the mafia, you begin to see who they are and how this underworld criminal organization, organized crime, works. They're very violent, extremely violent and crazy, the stuff they can do. And I am totally sure that there's Jesuits involved in the underworld around the earth. And they are the brains behind it. And the reason why is because of the symbols which are used, the words, the terms, and the symbols. And that's something I've been looking at for some 60 years, is the symbolism in world government, world religion, and world finance, world education. There are really big telltale signs. Once you begin to see the signs, it's called pattern recognition. You begin to see certain signs that were, 400 or 500 years old, 1,000 years old, and you know what they meant back then, and now you're seeing them today still. And so you need to study the history of the world and how we got to be where we are today, and then you will finally see who's running our world today and why. So that's what I do. That's what I try and do, and I try and help other people who want to know.
Brilliant.
It's a mammoth task, that is.
Jordan, we do have a lot of questions, so we're going to quick fire them over to you. We try and get through them. And I know some questions might take a long time to answer, but if we can do a condensed answer, we can try and help our listeners, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. Steve?
Okay, yeah, a lot of questions. We're going to jump around a little bit here. Chris asked earlier, Jordan, do you know what's going on in Antarctica? Any news on just exactly what the hell's going on down there?
Well, actually, no, I don't. But I have heard stories from people who do. And there's obviously something going on because too many important people are showing concern. They're going down there and they're very concerned. Military, churches, religious figures, a lot of people, the astronauts. So there must be something going on down there that they haven't told us. The one man that I love to hear talk about those kind of subjects is, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant men that I've ever heard. His name is Joseph Farrell. Farrell, Joseph Farrell. If you go on the web and listen to Joseph Farrell's lectures on radio, he is very well informed about the stuff that's going on behind the scenes in Antarctica and the Nazi Party, the Communist Party, a world revolution. An extremely interesting man. And another man who's very interesting about that subject of what's going on in Antarctica is Peter Levenda, Levenda. Peter Levenda is extraordinarily brilliant man. And I love listening to both Peter Levenda and Joseph Farrell because they are well informed and they are very highly and articulate and very easy to listen to and understand, but they're telling you exactly what's happening down there. And so I know there's something going on, and I suspect it has to do with extraterrestrial knowledge. Something's been found down there that is scaring the people in power around the world, people who are very powerful people, industrialists, military, religious people who are very powerful people in this world. They are being scared and frightened, and they're going down there to look and see what they have found. So I'm sure there's something otherworldly going on down there. It's just that I don't know. I haven't been there myself. But I am listening to Peter Levenda and Joseph Farrell. They are the ones that are really well informed. So
okay, we have those names, and we pop them on the chat room, and suggest that people do check them out as well. It'd be interesting to see what they've actually got down there, and what exactly it's capable of doing. What about the moon? Jordan, a lot of people speculate that on the dark side of the moon that well, A, it's hollow, it's an artificial light, and B, that there's a moon base up there. What's your thoughts on that?
Can I just add to that apparently recently NASA, well, we never believe NASA, but NASA have said that the moon is in Earth's atmosphere. This is the latest thing that's come out.
Oh. Well, I have also been aware that I believe the moon is hollow. I believe it has a metal superstructure and is hollow. It was designed and brought here. I think the moon was actually brought here a long time ago. It was designed perfectly, the exact size it's supposed to be. I've heard scientists who know, they say that the moon is far too big of a heavenly body to be connected to the Earth. The moon is too big of a satellite for the Earth. But why is it the size it is? Because on the solar eclipse, the moon is exactly the same size in the sky as the sun. How is that possible? And so there's a reason why I think that the moon was developed and built and brought here purposely. And it's hollow, and it has a superstructure of metal. And that is very interesting, but I also think that there's something going on right now on the planet of Saturn. Saturn is very important to what's happening today in the world. And I have talked with people, scientists who work with NASA, tell me about the planet Saturn. And they're showing me pictures that Saturn is inhabited. We know something is there, some kind of a life form is there in the planet Saturn. And I don't mean on Saturn, I mean in it. Because they've got pictures of vehicles going into the planet Saturn and coming out of the planet Saturn. So somebody is up there on the planet Saturn, and we know they're there, and we're suspecting that they're probably getting ready to do something with the Earth. It looks like they may be getting ready to do something with us on the Earth, and that's why we have Star Wars. That's why we have the space stations and all the military stuff in space. It is not because we're worried about Russia. It's because we got it in space because we're concerned about who is on the planet Saturn who is on the moon and who are they, but we know they're out there because we see them and we know they're watching us, and there very well might be a time when they're going to move in on us, and we've got to be ready for them. And so that's why I've heard from military and astronauts that there is life out there, and they are on the planet Saturn. They're on the planet of the moon, and there very well might be some kind of a military move against us by whoever they are out there. Very interesting stuff, I think.
Okay, very interesting. But I mean, if there's going to be a military movement against the inhabitants of Earth where we live, I mean, obviously we're not prepared for that. I mean, surely whoever they are.
You might assume we're not prepared for it.
I mean, well, that's my assumption. I mean, I would assume, but then I don't know, because like we say, we don't know what's going on down in Antarctica. But I mean, there is some speculation. As Dougie said on the chat there, that he reckons that what they found in Antarctica is a previous race, the relics from a previous race. Now, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But I mean,
which goes against their dogma. If it goes against the dogma and what we've been told throughout history, and it contradicts it, then they're concerned, because all the brainwashing will be exposed, and we'll know that we've been taught a lot of lies.
Only if what they have found, if it is what we suggest it might be, if it's actually released to the public. If it's not, then sure, we'll just be kept in the dark.
Well, just keep in mind that propaganda does not deceive you. It helps you to deceive yourself. You believe it. So deceiving, it doesn't deceive you. You deceived yourself by listening to it.
Yeah.
And so the most important story, I think, about the extraterrestrial presence of what's going on in the world today has to do with the Bible's account, the biblical account of how life started. Because what you read in Genesis 1, the first chapter of Genesis, is totally misunderstood. But when you see what the words really mean, what the original text was saying, it bears no resemblance to the way people understand God in religion today. If you go back and read Genesis 1 and the second chapter and the third chapter, probably up to about the 9th or 10th chapter, the first 10 chapters of Genesis are telling you a story that you will not believe when you finally see what it's actually saying, because we've never been told the real truth about what Genesis, the first 10 chapters, are actually saying. And the church has purposely deceived the people and given them a story which has no basis in fact at all. But if you go back and look at the story in Genesis 1, the first chapter, it will blow your mind when you see what the words really mean and what it was actually saying. And then you will see how much you have not known about God in religion and where man comes from. I talked with a very high-ranking rabbi back in 1960, many years ago. He was an extraordinarily brilliant man who had written many books about theology, and I contacted him. He was living in America at the time. He went on to go into Israel and be on the governing body of Israel. But when I was talking to him, he told me, he said, nowhere in the Old Testament, what you call the Old Testament, nowhere in the Old Testament does it say God made man. There's no place that says that. There is no place that God made man. Because in the Old Testament, God did not make man. And I said, well, I don't understand. He said, well, the Christians believe that it says that Adam and Eve were created by God. It doesn't say that Adam and Eve were. It says Adam was created, not man. So in order to understand what I'm saying, you need to go back to Genesis 1:1, the very first chapter and the very first words in the first chapter. In Genesis 1:1, in the King James Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But that's not what it says in Hebrew. It doesn't say that. You go back and read it. It doesn't say that because God in Hebrew is El. E-L is the word for God in the what we call the Hebrew language. And so if you go back and read it in the Bible, the Old Testament, you would expect to read in the Old Testament in Hebrew, in the beginning, El created the heavens and the earth. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't say El created. It says in the beginning, in Hebrew, in the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. What is the difference between El and Elohim? Well, it's a world of difference. Elohim is a plural on the end of a word. So in English, if you have a car, C-A-R, you add an S on the end and makes it cars, more than one, a plural. So in Hebrew, if you add Elohim to the word El, it means God in the plural, many gods. So the correct translation should have been in the King James, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth, not God. Then when you go to the Genesis 1:28, where it says, and God said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. The Christians will say, there it is. There's the scripture says God is making man. No, the rabbi said, no, it does not mean that. You're misinterpreting. Go back and read it correctly. It says, come, let us make Adam, not man. Man in Hebrew is Ish. I-S-H is man in Hebrew. Or men. It can be singular or plural, but I-S-H is man. But it doesn't say in the scriptures in Hebrew in 128, God said, come let us make Ish. No, it doesn't say Ish. It says, come let us make Adam, not Adam. Adam, A-D-M. So when you realize that it says Adam, it means a different kind of creature, a different kind of human. And so it doesn't say God created Ish. Ish was already here. Ish was already here. And so the correct understanding of 128, go back and read it correctly. It says, come, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness. Come, let us make this creature in our image, after our likeness. It's not Ish, it's Adam.
Okay, where does the Nephilim fit in the book of Genesis?
Well, that's what we're going. That's what we're heading for.
Okay.
Because Adam is a different kind of creature, and so what the Bible is saying in Genesis 1:28, the gods, more than one, the Elohim, the gods came here from where? From out there. Asking the 8-year-old where God is. He'll point out there in space. He's out there in heaven, right? Well, if he's out there, that means he's extraterrestrial. He's not from here. And so if his God's out there, he's out there, and he's extraterrestrial. And God came here. The one what we call the gods, they came here, and there was already people on the earth that were called Neanderthal, the Cro-Magnon man. All of these creatures that we look at today, we know that they exist, and we have the skeletal remains. And they look like animals. They look like they walk upright, but they were hairy and lived like animals. And we associate them with monkeys and with chimpanzees. No, they were Neanderthal. They had the brains of a monkey. And today we got a lot of men on the earth who are like Neanderthal. They act like a bunch of monkeys, but they're not. They are Adam. Adam is remaking the creatures that were here. So what I'm saying is that God, or the gods in the plural, came here from outer space. They came here and they looked at what was already here. What was already here was Ish. Ish was man. And so we have the Cro-Magnon man, the Peking man, the Neanderthal man. So man was already here. But when the gods came here, they took a one look at them people that were here and said, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let's make him to look like us. And that means let's take one of the females and procreate with her. Let's put our DNA in one of these females and see what she gives birth to, just for the hell of it. Let's just put our DNA in her and let's see what she gives birth to. So they put DNA into one of the females, and they put a special place on earth that they surrounded it so none of the other animals and none of the other could come in and disturb anything. So they put the female and a male in an area we call the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was simply a small area on the earth that was being protected for this experiment. And so the gods, more than one, came here and they saw the man, whatever he was, a Peking man, the Neanderthal man, whatever these ancient creatures were. They walked upright like us. They looked like us. But they were hairy and mostly looked like what we would refer to as cavemen. And so the gods said, come, let us make man like us, to look like us, in our image and after our likeness. And so, therefore, the gods took one of the females, put her in a safe place, and procreated with her and changed our DNA. And so we come from the Neanderthal man. But we are a lot different than what those old cavemen kind of creatures. We call them in science the hominids. The hominid creatures were what we think of as the ancient cavemen. And so today we're different. We don't live in caves. We wouldn't exist in a cave. Our skin is too thin that we couldn't live in the terrible cold. And we don't live like these cavemen. We live a different kind of life. And therefore, half of us is spiritual and the other half is physical. And it's because we are the Adam, not A-D-A-M, Adam. No, go back and read it in Hebrew. Adam, A-D-M only, just A-D-M. A-D-M simply means a different kind of creature. And so, therefore, the gods came here. They saw the the ancient man, and they said, come, let us make him look like us. So he will be like us, and he will look like us and be like us. Well, that's scary if you think about it, because later on we read in Genesis 18, the 18th chapter, where Abraham and his wife were in the tent, and it says Abraham saw three men come walking into the camp, and they come walking up to his tent. And it says Abraham went out and bowed down, his face on the ground, bowed down, and said, what is my Lord saying to his servant? So we're told there that Abraham realized that these three men were the gods. They were the creators of mankind. And he bows down and says, what is my God, what is my Lord saying to his servant? And the three men said that they were on their way to do some business and they were passing through. And Abraham said, no, let me fix you something to eat first. And so we're told in Genesis 18 that Abraham's wife fixed dinner for the three men. And they were handsome men. But then later on, two of the men got up and went on their way, but the one man stayed and talked with him. And the Bible says that Abraham was talking to the Almighty God. But he was a man having lunch with Abraham, sitting under a tree, sitting and talking. And so he was the man who created us. So we're created in the image and the likeness of the gods who came here from another world a long time ago and recreated us. We were Ish until they came here, then they recreated us and made us into Adam.
Okay, it's interesting because I came across a chap called Claude Royale, which is a French racing driver, and he had an ET experience in the 70s. And he wrote a book, and I can't think of the name of the book at the moment. I think it's called The Face of God or something like that. But the Raelian movement was rael.org is the website, and he talks about going into the craft for ETs, and he talks about the Elohim, and he talks about them coming down and different groups of the Elohim experimenting with genetics on the Neanderthals that were on the planet at the moment.
Well, that's what the Bible says in Genesis 1, yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Jordan, we have reached that time, unfortunately, and it's been fantastic information, and I know we could go on for another 2 or 3 hours, but it's brilliant information, and hopefully there'll be another a part 2 in the bag that we'd like to do with you, and then, continue on where we left off. But for now, we'd just like to say a big thank you for coming on to the show. Now, we're going to get all your contact details, but I know you want to tell us about your website and stuff like that, so I'm passing it over to Steve, and Steve can get all that off you.
Okay, I just want to say very quickly, Jordan, before we hand the mic over to you, thank you so much for giving us your time today, this evening. It's been great information, a lot of questions. There's so many questions and so little time. A lot of the questions that we didn't get to ask, I have posted them over to you in the Skype for your consideration. If at some point, if you maybe have a couple of moments, if you fancy just jotting a couple of answers, if you can, then we can read them out to our listeners. Or failing that, definitely a part 2, if you're up for a part 2, we would definitely love to have you on again, because so much information here. Anyway, as Alan said, we do know you want to give out your website details, and we do have them already logged here and posted up on the chat room. So just closing words to you, Jordan.
Well, what I would say is that there are different websites out on the web with my name on them, but they don't belong to me. Other people are using my name to promote themselves and to promote ideas and things that has nothing to do with me. My name is Jordan, like the River Jordan, Maxwell, and my website is Jordan Maxwell Show. So if you're interested in contacting me, always add the word show, SHOW, because that's my website, Jordan Maxwell Show. Nothing else is mine. Any other websites out there with my name on it has nothing to do with me. And when you go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, you will see another website on my home page called Jordan Maxwell Research Society. It's just a website which I have had to put up where I am uploading all of my information, the pictures, the documents, the audio, video, all of the research material, all the research stuff I've been doing over the years, little by little, on all kinds of subjects. I have a research website. You have to go on that Jordan Maxwell Show, which is my website, and you will see a little banner, a little button that says join Jordan Maxwell's Research Society. And so it costs you a small donation for a lifetime, a one-time small donation for a lifetime of all my work is being collected and put in one place. And you can sit and read and study stuff that you've never heard before and see pictures and diagrams about all the lies and deception in the world and where it comes from and what's going on, and listen to the audio and videos, all kinds of interesting stuff on my website. So go on Jordan Maxwell Show and join my research society, and you'll see it all with your own eyes. And you can hear it all. And I've got all kinds of information on that website. And I want to thank you for letting me tell the people that. But remember, it's Jordan Maxwell Show. Nothing else but that.
No, that's brilliant. Jordan, thanks again for coming on. You're a star with all the work that you've done. And long may you continue in the next another 10, 20 years, hopefully, fingers crossed. But good luck with all the work that you're doing, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. Thanks again. Just stay with us there for a minute, Jordan. We're going off to a musical break.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
We're back. Yeah, Alan was just telling me about that song, so yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
It's Bob Marley's 70th birthday, and that was an a cappella version of that song, Could You Be Loved?
No musical instruments?
No musical instruments, that's purely a cappella.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if you go onto YouTube and type in Bob Marley's 70th birthday a cappella, could this be love? Then you will actually see it on YouTube, and it's very interesting. You see them all singing and making the sounds and everything else. Very catchy. I thought that was a good tune to put on there. I know people are saying, hey, why don't you play Michael Jackson? Well, we would do. Maybe next week we'll put on Michael Jackson.
I believe Michael Jackson was pulled, if anything that we hear is to be believed, he's been pulled from the playlist on the national broadcaster here in Ireland.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to buy into all that BS that they're doing with Michael Jackson. You know, at the end of the day, fantastic musician, fantastic music. Whatever his personal preferences were, what was going on, I'm just interested in the music and superb music. I don't believe that was. I believe they set him up anyway. That's my own opinion, unless I see really good evidence, independent evidence that says otherwise. Even my own partner, who said she's seen the program, said that she was doubtful of the people that were interviewed, saying 1 minute that he didn't do anything, and the next minute they're in the spotlight, you know. And she didn't get a good feeling over, you know, these people being interviewed all of a sudden, you know. And of course, a dead man can't defend himself, can he?
That's the truth. Yeah, it was actually watched in my household as well. I didn't partake because it doesn't really interest me. You know, for the same reason. And I mean, if you look up online, I don't know if it's there now, but there was a gentleman who put out some information many years ago, and I can't think of his name. But if you just look up on the internet, Michael Jackson's last phone call. Yeah, you should find a video clip, unless it's been removed. But it is a short clip allegedly of Michael Jackson on, and he is talking to. This is supposed to be the night before he died, actually, and he's supposed to be talking to a guy on the phone called Dieter, and he kind of spills the beans. He said that he said, people are trying to kill me, like, you know, I don't even feel safe. He says, I know that they want to take me out, and they're trying to plot things against me. Exactly.
So, doesn't surprise me there. Now, I did mention when Jordan was on about Claude Royale, and I'm just on the Claude Royale, the website there, royale.org. Now, I'm not promoting this in any way, by the way, but I'm just saying that the coincidence that Jordan said about Elohim and what Claude Royale said was, thousands of years ago, scientists from another planet came to Earth and created all forms of life, including human beings, whom they created in their own image. References to these scientists and their work can be found in the ancient texts of many cultures. Due to their highly advanced technology, they were considered as gods by our primitive ancestors and often referred to as Elohim, which in ancient Hebrew meant those who came from the sky. So it's interesting that Jordan actually talked about that and Claude Royale talks about that. Now, I will say I do have his book, Claude Royale's book, and I did read it and I found it very interesting. Now, the Raelian movement, we did have on Deg Garrity a few years ago, who was once upon a time the Irish spokesman for the Raelian movement, but he left the Raelian movement. But they're still going as far as I know, and he said there was certain things going on that he wasn't happy about, that's why he left. So I'm not promoting the Raelian movement in any way, me, Steve, or OIM for that matter, but it's just interesting the story. He said that he went into the forest in the 70s, came across an ET craft, got on it, and they started educating him about life and the history of man and everything else, and it just kind of matches what Jordan was talking about, so that's quite interesting. So you know, check out the website and have a look at it by all means. It's rael.org is the website there if you want to get a bit of a history behind it. Now, also what I came across during the week, funny enough, was you know, the BBC and the whole idea of them covering up pedophilia and all that kind of stuff. And apparently Jeremy Clarkson from the Top Gear TV program, or ex-Top Gear TV program, he tweeted and this was his tweet apparently, he said, "If only I abused a child rather than a producer, the BBC would have covered it up."
Isn't that the truth?
That isn't that,
Yeah.
isn't that the truth? So he gives the producer a bit of hassle, and he gets kicked off Top Gear. But if he was abusing a kid, they'd be all covered up by the BBC. And that's an interesting tweet. You know, so close to the mark, very close to the mark. Right, you're going to tell us about Richard.
Yes, I'm going to tell us all about Richard, and it is Richard Cumbers, and I've lost a piece of paper.
The unscripted script is all over the
Where
place.
is the piece of paper?
I have it there.
Oh, that's it there. Sorry, I do apologise. Live radio. Richard Cumbers of Pain Genie Energy Medicine is going to be running a course at the Birmingham Buddhist Centre. That's going to be in April and May. Listeners can look up the website, which is www.21st century energymedicine.com, and that is the number 2, the number 1. So it's 21st century energymedicine.com. And under the Skenair training tab, you can get more information in relation to a discount for OIM listeners. Anyone who buys a Pain Genie will also get free access to the new tab in the paid members only subscription, which will cover most types of chronic and degenerative disease. And I just want to say, in relation to the Pain Genie, mine was, well, I won't say it was taken out of retirement. It never really retires. It just sits on the shelf waiting for when it's required. And anyone who was here at the beginning of the show will remember I did mention about waking up with a sore back kind of every morning, really. So it was pretty bad on Saturday, so I stuck the Pain Genie on, put it onto the required mode for the pain, and left it on, went about my business. And I have to say, within maybe an hour to an hour and a half, I took it off because it was no longer required. I was brand new, I have to say. It is a great device. It costs a few quid, but when you think about what you'd be paying for, doctor's bills and also on prescription medication for pain, and this little gizmo kind of, sorts it all out, I have to say, it works wonders for me, and I'm a great advocate, as I know Alan is as well. We're great advocates of the Pain Genie, and we're not getting paid to say this.
No.
This is from the heart.
This is from the heart, and I have to agree with Steve. I was in the same position that I needed to use the Pain Genie, but on my foot. And reflexology, if you have any issues with your body, a reflexologist will be able to pick that up with your feet. And I had an issue with my foot, and I took the Pain Genie out, and I whacked it on there, gave it a bit of treatment over a couple of days, and that's it. It's sorted. It's gone. Finished. Are we endorsing the Pain Genie? Yeah, of course we are, because we know it works. We've used it time and time again on ourselves and our friends and family. And it's worked. Now, has it worked 100% of the time? No, because there's some conditions that it won't work on. One lady came to me where she had a plate in her back, and the plate was hitting off the nerve in the back of her, in her back, in her spine. And basically, the surgeon made the cock up, and she needed another surgery to fix the problem. And I treated her with a Pain Genie, and although the pain did go down a little bit, really what she needed was maybe the surgery to go and fix that, to get it removed from pinching the nerve on her spine. But she said it helped a little bit, but she really needed the op. So there's some, obviously, conditions that the Pain Genie won't do. We probably will need an operation. But you know what? I wouldn't say, we've done the training, and I've treated a number of people with the Pain Genie, but I wouldn't say I'm anywhere near the knowledge that I have, that Richard has with the Pain Genie, because I'm still learning all the time with the Pain Genie, and I touch base with Richard every now and again. And as we said last week on the show, Richard came across a situation personally where he had to use the Pain Genie as a defibrillator to resuscitate a person, and it can be used for that, and he carries the Pain Genie around all the time. Obviously, we can't go into detail as to what happened, but basically, he used the Pain Genie for that. We've never, touch wood, ever had to do that. I hope we never, ever have to do that, but it's good to know that it can be done, and if we need to do that. Now, the guest on the show next week is a lady called Danny Arnold McKinney. She's a researcher, and I actually had a Skype with Danny during the week, and we spoke for about 2 hours. And basically what happened was I came across Danny's interview with another lady on YouTube, and Danny was talking about certain things, and the other lady maybe she was at a certain level of awakening, and Danny was kind of dropping a few hints, and she kind of was saying, oh, that's interesting, but she never kind of pursued the information. And I said, well, Danny is kind of aware of what's going on, especially regarding energies and about how they're affecting people on the planet and the whole plethora of other things. And she has her own Facebook group and everything else, and she invited me into one of our meetings with a lot of people, which went on apparently for 4 hours, but I didn't stay for 4 hours. I was too tired, early to bed me. But it was very nice for her to ask for her to ask me to go in and see our group and our team. Well, I won't say a team, just people that are just talking to each other about everything and anything, really. So we've asked Danny to come on the show for next week and just talk to us about everything and anything, energies, and maybe whatever takes our fancy, whatever questions we want to ask. And she's aware of, she's been down the rabbit hole. She was very honest and upfront with me, and she said, yes, I was involved promoting the Jasara and the Sara. I know it's a pile of poo. I was involved with the OPPT. That was another rabbit hole that I learned my lesson from, and one or two of the lessons that she learned, and she just kind of now, once bitten, twice shy. She's just keeping away from a lot of things and just doing her own thing and goes with the flow and doesn't get caught up in certain things. So it's interesting that she was up straight and forward. And she knows about Thomas, she knows about the foundation and Kim as well. We talked about that briefly. So it should be an interesting interview. So that's who we have on next week. So anyway, for myself, just looking at the time, Alan James, take it easy, have a safe week, have a good week. If you have any information you want to send us in, email us on info@oamradio.com. Take care, have a good night, bye bye.
Okay, and that just leaves me to say, I think Barry is up next on People's Internet Radio with the Big Puzzle. I'm not 100% sure. And on tomorrow night, with the Threes Company, Three Amigos, sorry. The Three Amigos.
Threes Company?
Yeah, well, what can I say? Anyway, Paul is going to be joining the gang there, Threes Company. I've done it again. The Three Amigos.
You got like a
Three Amigos
menage a trois in your mind or something, Did you tell your wife about this?
No, I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, the Three Amigos will be on People's Internet Radio tomorrow night from 9 o'clock onwards. Paul Cotty will be joining them, and they're going to be talking about all the benefits of cannabis products and also other natural remedies. So a show not to be missed. So there you go. Right, it's 9 o'clock. It's time for us to skedaddle out of here. And thanks for everyone for joining us this evening, both on the chat rooms and also on the live streams as well. And glad we could be part of your evening. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.